Welcome inside the Shot Callers eSports. Kummel, Matt Hempstead. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Still morning. It's before noon Eastern time. So morning still applies. Day 2 of quarterfinals from Worlds, and continues to be interesting. First day of quarterfinals, definitely not the result people were expecting.
No, Samsung with the clean 3-0 sweep over Longview. And going into today, a lot of people expecting another sweep with SKT going up against Misfits. Seemed pretty one-sided on paper.
Yeah, the pick'ems, I believe, were 98% SKT, the old 2% Misfits, which is really 1% more than I was expecting.
Right, but you're telling me there's a chance?
I'm telling you there's a 2% chance, which is twice as good as what most people would think. Let's dive right into these highlights. Game 1, start playing against a powerhouse like SKT. Game 1, pretty important. If you get behind a massive deficit against them, that would probably tilt me for the whole series.
Yeah, it's definitely not a great start if you fall behind against SKT. Again, this team, they didn't look great in the group stage, and they were the team that often fell behind. So going into this one, is this going to be the group stage SKT or the world champion SKT that we've seen time and time again never lose a best of 5 at Worlds? Yeah,
and you've got a couple interesting picks here. That was actually the Galio going on Faker, which is something we're not accustomed to seeing there. Tarek down bottom for the Ignar. He is the Ignar. But early on, it was Alfari feeling the gank from Faker. Ran all the way up the top, burns the flash. Nice little beat back from Huni. That's first blood for SKT.
Yeah, the good old beat back. Get that Jace ahead early on. Anytime there's a Jace, you really want to get him rolling, especially against Cho'Gath. You get that 1v1 to go on. And then Misfits trying to make a play down bot, but it's Hans Sama. Does not really respect the damage coming out. Doesn't heal, only flashes and still dies.
Yeah, that's bad. Power of Evil comes all the way down for that. They don't get a kill. SKT getting out to a pretty early lead here. Then we got this battle in the jungle. PoE coming in with the Realm Warp. That's a Sejuani ult whiff, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then Faker comes out of nowhere with his Gallery ult as well, and they'll turn this fight right around. Max Lord drops, so does Power of Evil, and SKT takes a pretty early advantage, already at 5k gold here with 8 kills to 1.
Yeah, and 3-0 for them there, and they were just rolling in this game. Now 11-1, they're pressured on the base. Huni gets out of the Cataclysm, and this is going to be another team fight going way in the way of SKT. This is the best of SKT that you're expecting to see to open up this series, and super dominant performance. Pretty much no chance. Almost a perfect game for them.
Yeah, that's a 17k gold lead at 24 minutes. So yeah, pretty
not bad.
Pretty dominant. This is an SKT you have not seen in the groups. They really come out, they win early, and they just end super quickly in 25 minutes. They close out Misfits. Not to start, Misfits wanted a lot of talk on Twitter earlier where they were being confident, saying they'd be the first team to ever take on SKT in that best of 5. After this one, not a good start.
But there wasn't perfect synergy on the emote flashes there, so definitely a chink in the armor there showing from SKT. Don't have the perfect synergy, but I mean, Faker on that Galio, something you're not used to really seeing him play that often, but he got a big CS lead and he was roaming around getting kills. You saw him get first blood there on Alfari, so really solid performance by him. And when you're getting ahead on that Galio, it is impossible to deal with. So much CC and you deal absolutely 0 damage to him.
Yeah, and once again, there was another Caitlyn pick. It wasn't used the same way as we saw these other Chinese teams use it, or Cloud9 use it, where they just ran from lane to lane sieging. It was really just more of a lane dominant tool. And then it was tough to gank that Caitlyn too. You saw Misfits go down there, and that gank really backfired when Hansama just took too much damage and died without using heal. It sets everyone so far behind because Power of Evil walked all the way down from mid to try to get that gank off, and it backfired on them.
Yeah, and that bot lane for Misfits was playing super aggressive in that matchup, which is a little surprising against a Caitlyn, who is a pretty disgusting lane bully. But I think what Misfits learned from that first game, that was them kind of playing meta for the most part. And heading into game 2, it was like, okay, we can't beat them meta. So let's start bringing out the weird picks, which is exactly what happened in this series. It got a lot more interesting after game 1, just with the picks, and both teams kind of switching away from Ardent Sensors.
Yeah, which is a nice thing to see because, man, Ardent Sensor, kind of enough of it. No more Janna, no more Lulu. Those guys were target banned in pretty much every game. And we started to see some new picks, some of that balling. But yeah, if you can't beat SKT standard, mix it up and try to get some crazy picks to take SKT down.
Yeah, so heading into that second game, the interesting pick for Misfits was one of Ignar's patented champions, the Blitzcrank.
Oh, the good old Blitzcrank, and Karma mid again from Power of Evil. Interesting choice, but you can also take Ardent Sensor on Karma since you don't have it in a support position. So, would Ignar be able to get these hooks landed pretty much all or nothing champion? You can look pretty stupid if you're behind on Blitzcrank.
Yeah, and they get some action early going bottom. 4-man dive. He does land the hook, but this is not a clean dive by any means by Misfits. It actually ends up being Bang getting the first blood on Kog'Maw. They do get him to fall, but that's a double kill, 2 for 1 for SKT. That's not how you want to start.
No, it's definitely not. That's supposed to be 2 kills for Hansama, not for Bang. And you give that Kog'Maw 2 kills, not great. But they go right back down there. Looks like it might not work out, but Ignar lands a great hook onto Bang. And then Hansama with a pretty flashy play as that E explodes on his head.
And he heals that time, which is key, survives the last Earth shot, and that's a pretty big advantage actually down bottom for the Tristana. And here they're gonna go for a dive on Huni. That's a goon squad, that's 4 members. But the rest of SKT are around. Peanut's gonna come in and he'll get the kill on Maxlore. But they're going to turn that around, the Misfits are, and they had an actually pretty solid start for whiffing that first dive.
Yeah, they definitely did, and Ignar was definitely on point with these hooks. He didn't miss too many of them in this game. And Trist, of course, once you start sieging, you put that E-proc on those turrets. They drop awfully quick, and Misfits up a solid 2,000 gold here.
Yeah, getting that turret and a couple of kills there was pretty big for them. And then going on the Baron, Faker dives in with the Corki. He's going to get Sejuani ulted, cleanses away, flashes. All right, he's safe. Oh my god! The flash hook from Ignar gets Faker to go down. That was super nice.
It was beautiful play from Ignar. And Faker, a little tilted, gotta unhinge the neck there.
That's just him going into power mode. He's powering up, that's all. Then Misfits on the Baron. Ignar just sitting there, waiting for a hook. I don't know why Peanut ever goes near there or close to it. He's going to go down, and then they're just going to turn around. No smite threat. Misfits going to grab the Baron there. They're getting a pretty massive lead here. Yeah, not what you would have expected.
No, they knew Ignar was sitting there the whole time, too. So Peanut just walks in there. Once the smite's gone, it's a free Baron for Misfits. And he goes back to it. Kind of weird dynamic there with the Corki W. But nonetheless, hooked in, Faker goes down, and Misfits starts pushing in to try to end the game.
Yeah, it takes them a little bit. They eventually get it to go down. And that is Misfits. I mean, people wouldn't expect them to win a game, especially after how badly they got dismantled in that first game. So great rebound from them, going back to what they're used to in these aggressive supports. And Faker's mad. He's very mad.
Is that Faker's mad face?
He could be happy. Yeah, hard to tell. It's the same emotion pretty much every time.
That's right.
But that game is all about Misfits not playing that standard Ardent Center support. Ignar, we've seen him thrive on these hook-type champions and guys where he can engage, and he was definitely the highlight in that game.
Yeah, he definitely was, and Misfits has played better pretty much the entire split when Ignar's on one of these playmaking champs, whether it's Thresh, whether it's Blitzcrank. He likes to be the guy that creates things, and also some shot calling too from Maxlore, where you see them go after this Baron to try to draw SKT in. Faker came in with the package, and eventually they caught him out, and that turned into a Baron as well after they got the hook onto Peanut. So Peanut didn't look too hot in this game either, and that eventually forced a sub from SKT.
Yeah, 1 loss, and you're out, Peanut. Goodbye. So heading into game 3, blank, subbed in for Peanut to get in there, and the main ban SKT does, we don't want that Blitzcrank again.
No Blitz, get out of here. But instead, Misfits goes with Leona in the bot and
of course.
Ivern in the jungle.
As everyone expected, you'd have a Leona, which hasn't seen professional play in over 2 years, and you got a Vayne for Bang over there. So some very interesting picks in this one. And we got to mention that Leona had Fervor going into this game. Both of them in that bottom lane went for Fervor, which is very interesting.
She wanted to stab people with that sword.
She wanted to stab people, and stab people she did at level 1. This 2v2 is absolutely insane.
Yeah, Ignar is just back and forth, auto-tagging anyone he can find. Hansama gets incredibly low on Tristana, but able to survive with the use of a potion. And then eventually Ignar takes down Bang with the E. Camera works a little strange here, but they come back. Hansama comes back to finish off the kill on Wolf. 2v2 kill at 2 minutes 30. Misfits up big.
Yeah, and they weren't done with that bottom lane. But you can see the work Fervor does in these extended fights. Warlord, not so helpful there. They get another kill on Wolf. And this Tristana is rolling. And once again, it's Ignar setting up these plays. And you see here, Huni camping in that bush. They don't know he's there, but he will be found out, and he tries the 1v2. He knows they're both there. Wolf eventually comes in, but now Alfari TP's in as well, and that's going to be Wolf going down too.
Yeah, the Leona chain CC definitely didn't help Huni in that situation. They ulted to the Q, and you just can't move for a while, and then off the Baron go Misfits.
Yeah, they go, later on they head up to grab this Baron, but it is going to be SKT contesting them. Blank gets really low, but he will survive. It's eventually Alfari going down, and SKT scares them off of the Baron. So good job by them, but I mean, Misfits just being so active early on, and eventually they'd go back and do a pretty sneaky Baron around the side, and SKT just didn't have time to react to it. They're going to be able to knock this down.
Yeah, Maxlor and Misfits were relentless with their Baron calls, always trying to force something, not sitting back and waiting for SKT to do anything. And then SKT comes in after that Baron buff goes down. Very close fight here. That ultimate from Power of Evil was fantastic, and it would really turn the tides of a fight that looked like was going to go in SKT's favor.
Yeah, and Alfari with a nice flank TP, he picks off Bang on the other side. They eventually get 3 kills out of that to go with the Baron. And that's going to be a pretty big lead for them. Now SKT is going to try the Baron, but Maxlor comes in for the flash smite. You know, we've seen a lot of missed smites in this tournament. And finally, someone delivers on the steal with it. Another nice ultimate there by Ignar. And eventually they're going to chase down Faker. And I mean eventually, it takes a while. But I mean, Misfits getting out to a huge lead in Game 3.
Yeah, and that steal was huge. That Baron going SKT's way might have brought them back into it. Instead, it's the Misfits who now up 10k gold and potentially go up 2-1 in the series.
Yeah, no one expecting that. And here's Faker, an aggressive flash that doesn't really do anything, and he dies for it. And then that's a main source of damage because Bang's been so behind this whole game. And they're pretty much just going to roll over SKT here in this fight. They're going to get some huge advantages, and they would eventually close it out from here. That's right, close it out. Misfits going to go up 2-1 in this series. What?
They're one game away from doing what no one's ever done, and that's beating SKT in this best of 5. Look at the Misfits. They're thrilled, and they should be, because you get that early lead on Hansama. That Tristana was going crazy, doing all kinds of damage, way ahead of Bang, and now they're up 2-1. 2-1.
And Faker chugging some water. He needs some hydration because he's like, we're down 2-1 to Misfits. That's not cool. No. That's not allowed. I mean, the fact that they, again, just destroyed Misfits in Game 1, almost a perfect game, for Misfits to rebound these next 2 games and put up such fantastic performances. Ignar, in particular, basically hard carrying these 2 games for Misfits. First on the Blitzcrank, then on the Leona. Just terrific engages, and really, the secret is they knew they couldn't play meta against SKT, so play these interesting pocket picks they have that I'm sure SKT is not used to playing.
Yeah, I mean, Blitzcrank is one that we've seen in the past, and in the group stage he pulled it out as well, but the Leona is something completely out of nowhere, and then you back that up with an Ivern as well, so you can still build Ardent Sensor in this meta, even though if you don't have one of those guys like Janna or Lulu in the bot lane, you can still get that OP item and buff up that Tristana, and then you throw Ivern shields on Tristana as well, and there's just not much you can do if you get ahead in that situation.
Yeah, and it is just a testament to how confident they are in Ignar's playmaking and how busted an item Ardent Sensor is. That we're like, okay, we don't want you to be playing this Janna Lulu stuff, but we still need that stupid item. So throw in an Ivern, throw in a Karma, and then it's all good. Ignar can play these playmaking champions and hard carry us to games.
Yeah, so instead of having a passive support in that bot lane, you go with an aggressive playmaker and a more supporty role somewhere else, whether it's mid or in the jungle. So that was the Misfits adaptation after Game 1.
Yeah, now obviously going up 2-1 is still, you still got to win one more game. There is no celebrating, especially when you're playing against SKT. But heading into Game 4, Misfits got to have some confidence.
You have to, and why not the way you're playing? It's been incredible to see them dominate Game 2 and then battle through Game 3 and eventually take it in 40 minutes. So going into Game 4, what do? Well, they go with this strange-looking Sivir comp with another support Karma in the mid lane to build that RN Sensor, and Alistar, another playmaker for Ignar.
Yeah, that's basically 3 tanks and a not very high damage mid laner, so come the late game, going to be tough to do some damage, but Power of Evil feeling confident with the emote spam. Unfortunately, wouldn't go so well early.
No, it didn't last too long. Karma flashes from the rise, though he can just press W and he can't move, and the Jarvan comes in with the EQ combo and gets first blood on Faker's rise. We all know how good that is.
Yeah, and then it's going to be them going for the flank onto Bang. They're committing so much, though, here to get down the Tristana. That was a teleport, some flashes burned. They get him, but is that worth it?
Yeah, they didn't really take anything else after that kill. And then this is some creative play from Ignar, kind of avoiding enemy vision and able to get in behind SKT as they try to defend this tier 2 mid tower. And it would be Wolf going down, and that would net Misfits this second tier tower. And this is what he did, just somehow sneaks past SKT's
That doesn't look
vision.
like a cow would fit in that shadow. That's a little suspect. But yeah, no vision there. SKT definitely not expecting it. They get Wolf, that turns into a turret, and they're in this game.
They're more than it.
They're going to eliminate SKT.
It looks like it's very possible. And then, again, just Maxwell getting very aggressive, looking for a pick onto Wolf. It eventually leads to them finding Faker kind of caught out of position. He'd go down, and then Misfits would transition over to Baron, where the fight continues.
Yeah, and you saw that Alfari didn't use his feast in that fight, saving it so they could attempt the Baron. They're going to catch out Hooney over there, and then eventually you still got the feast, you got the smite, they secure the Baron. Wow, that's a lead. That's a lead for Misfits, and they were continue to press just to Cybercomp, press that R button.
Yeah, and Maxler with a great little body slam from the Sejuani there to prevent Blank from getting away on that Jarvan, and they would continue to push, looking for the inhib here. No minions, however.
Yeah, no minions, and they're really aggressive. They want to close this game out right now. They're diving in for this one, but it's going to be Bang who's staying safe in this fight, just dealing out insane amounts of damage. And oh no, the Misfits have dove too far. Faker outputting the damage. He realm warps instantly and secures another kill on Ignar. That's not good for the Misfits. 4 go down. Bang eventually going to chase down Alfari as well. That's an ace.
It is an ace. Yeah, Alfari would eventually die in that fight, and then Misfits keep trying to force with the Sivir comp, just press R and run to the enemy team. This time, good disengage from SKT. A good QSS there as well to get out of the Sejuani ultimate. And just no damage coming out of this Misfits lineup. It's only Sivir and the Braum blocking so much of that damage.
Yeah, that's the problem with this Karma mid, is sure you have an Ardent Sensor, but with 3 tanks, yeah, you have next to no damage. I mean, these extended team fights, SKT's health bar was at full the whole time, and these realm warps by Faker were fantastic.
Yeah, they definitely were, and it was just a tough scenario again, as you mentioned, the Karma not bringing anything, and they didn't really have a way to get onto Bang and actually kill him without, Sivir somehow getting some auto attacks in that situation. But the front line of SKT did a great job of kind of zoning Hansama out of that fight.
Yeah, and after that team fight turns into a Baron for SKT. Now they've got a pretty substantial gold lead, and then another fight in this Baron. Just look at SKT's health bars. They're team fighting. No one's getting hurt.
No one's getting hurt at all. The Ricochet getting completely blocked again by that Braum. Hooney not taking too much damage either on that Trundle. So just
hello.
And another realm warp there as Faker comes in, brings everybody, completely wipes the floor with Misfits, who just couldn't do enough damage to even hurt anybody. And that would be all she wrote as SKT takes game 4, all tied up at 2 games apiece.
Yeah, quadra kill for Bang closes out the game there, and Misfits had a lead. If they just played it a little slower, they had a much better chance for that. But I mean, I guess you got to give them respect. They wanted to close it out as quickly as they could, but definitely overstepped in that fight in SKT's base. And really, all they need is one mistake from you to come back into the game, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, it was definitely overeager play from the Misfits there. If they had just waited for the next minion wave to come in, they probably could have taken down that Nexus turret, or not Nexus turret, but the inhib turret, and then the inhib to follow as well. So just take it a little slower. I know they thought maybe this is our chance to beat SKT, and once you get that mindset like, oh my god, we can win, you kind of go for it. They got too aggressive and got punished by Bang's Tristana as they couldn't get onto that. And again, after that, there's not enough damage coming into this line.
Yeah, I mean, Bang free hitting in that fight, and Faker as well, doing some pretty insane damage. Obviously, he's probably got the scariest rise around and has for pretty much his whole career. But that being said, Misfits had a chance in that game 4, and now we're heading to game 5. And nobody thought they would take this to a game 5, and Misfits were just they're playing a fantastic series overall.
Yeah, they won games 2 and 3. They could have won game 4. That would have been insane to drop the first game in the way they did and then win the next 3. I know this loss in game 4 is probably hurting them a little bit because they knew they had the game. They knew they had a chance to close it out, and now they lost it. But at least they know they've already been SKT twice. Just one more time, and you make history going to the semis.
Yeah, and many people expecting the first quarterfinals to be a best of 5. Turns out to be a sweep. People expecting this one to be a sweep. Ends up being a best of 5.
Yep.
Just a quick reverse of them. But let's jump into that game 5 with some more pick bans. And look at that, we got a Tom Kench.
Oh.
A Thresh. Interesting support picks in this series.
Yeah, the Tom Kench basically completely cancels out what this Misfits lineup is trying to do with that pick composition. If anyone gets locked up, Tom Kench comes in, devour, see you later. So it's going to be tough for Misfits, but once again, they put up a hell of a fight.
Yeah, Tom Kench is a anti-fun champion.
Yes.
And Misfits tried a little interesting level 1 where they tried to catch Huni. It didn't work so well, but some action at the red buff at level 1.
Yeah, I mean, SKT with the invade just taking the red buff right off the bat, and Maxlore and Alfari come in, but Blank hits level 2 with the smite on that red buff, and this is where it all goes downhill for Misfits as, again, having some extra damage, extra HP, extra ability. Alfari drops, Huni gets first blood, and that's tragic for what this lineup's trying to do.
Yeah, and now here's the Tom Kench coming in for the flank for SKT, and that is going to be Power of Evil getting a nice kill, actually, on Bang. And they actually survived that flank from them, actually turn it around into 2 kills. So great play there by Misfits, and a fail flash by Wolf.
Yeah, Wolf a little late on that Devour, too busy trying to do some other things. But Power of Evil, I mean, Huni was split pushing basically the entire game, putting pressure on the rest of the map. SKT looking at Baron, but Power of Evil with great roams to get down, and then with Shen still having teleport up, forces SKT off the Baron that they were attempting to do. So Power of Evil doing a great job in this game to try to stop Huni.
Yeah, because, I mean, the Shen basically just couldn't handle him. He was outputting so much pressure, and yeah, good for them to be able to do that and not really lose objectives when he's going down there. And they actually turned this one into a Baron attempt.
Yeah, a Baron attempt for sure, and a nice wall there from Talia to split up the DPS from Misfits. And this one would go back and forth. Wolf barely survives, but just that alone is enough to push Misfits off of Baron. These two teams just going back and forth over objectives, and this is a big moment too with Misfits picking up their 3rd Infernal Drip.
Yeah, now 3rd Infernal, that is obviously insane. And this game very different than the other games, much lower kills as you see Power of Evil catching out Huni yet again. But I mean, only 5-1 this late in the game.
Yeah, but on the other side here, it's Ignar that gets caught out, and then Maxlore and Hansama forced to go away. No Baron attempts there, and now this is a big turning point in the game. Elder Drake, if Misfits get this, that's a huge
done, but Blank comes in for the smite steal, and then you see here Huni with the nice TP flank absolutely obliterates Power of Evil. Hansama goes down too. That is eventually going to be Ignar who gets cut down by Bang with the rapid fire, a little bit of extra range. Ooh. That's 3 down, none for SKT. They got Elder. Oh no.
Yeah, only Alfari left alive now, and that's going to be tough to stop with about 40-second death timers after they all drop. SKT pushes in, and that is going to be all she wrote. Again, so close for Misfits, but that one fight around Elder Dragon just did not go their way. They underestimated the death timer and teleport of Huni, but he was able to get in there and cut everyone off. And of course, Maxlore smited early on that Elder Dragon. I'm not sure them acquiring that buff would have actually turned the tides of that team fight, because Huni's positioning and teleport was just so fantastic in that one.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at SKT's reaction, just a real sense of relief. They were definitely pushed to their limits in this series. Faker, no emotion throughout the whole series, whether he's getting flash hooked, losing a game, winning a game. Stoic as ever, looks the exact same. But yeah, you've just got to give a lot of credit to Misfits, because basically 2 main plays, 2 big plays they were away from taking this series. First in that game 4, that over-aggression into SKT's base, and then yeah, losing that Elder Dragon. That's tough.
Even this game, in game 5, it was so impressive to me the way that Misfits were able to crawl back from that early deficit, and then with Huni getting that early kill, he was constantly split pushing against this Shen, and Shen can really not do anything by himself. He was getting pushed out, they were giving up turrets, they were losing pressure on the map, but Power of Evil kept roaming down to take relief off of Alfari, kill that Jace, and then they tried to make plays across the map. So it was just brilliant to be able to stop the macro play of SKT, but it was that one slip up once again. SKT took full advantage, ended the game just like in game 4.
Yeah, and you got to think maybe they didn't have to play into that 50-50 Elder Dragon fight, because yeah, with 3 Infernals, your scaling is just going to be absolutely insane the longer the game goes on, the more items you're stacking up. So maybe a little bit over-eager there as well, but I mean, Yeah, even the fact that after you lose a pretty heartbreaking Game 4, Misfits come right back into Game 5 and put up another terrific competition. I mean, this team was in the Challenger Series a year ago, their first split in the LCS, and after that, they go to Worlds and they take the defending champions to a 5th game. You got to be pretty proud of that.
Even going into Worlds, people were like, this team doesn't stand a chance in this group. TSM's going to get out, World Elite's going to get out. They might even finish last to Flash Wolves in that Group D, and then they come out of it with a tiebreaker win over TSM. Oh no, it's SKT in the quarterfinals.
See ya.
No big deal. They were still confident going into this series. They were up 2-1. They were up in Game 4. They had a chance in Game 5. So they not only showed that they're capable of beating SKT, but they were this close.
That close. That close. Now does this series give hope to other teams when they're going to play against SKT, or is it just like, man, even when you play like that, you're that close, you just can't beat them?
What it tells you is you can't make mistakes. You really can't. Because just the simple over-aggression, one-loss team fight, give SKT the ammunition they need to turn it around and then end the game in their favor. So you do have to be pretty close to perfect. I know SKT still hasn't looked their best in this tournament, but the things that Misfits were doing were things that it wasn't so much SKT not playing their best like we saw in the group stage and falling behind early. It was Misfits being incredibly proactive and going for these picks, going for these team fights, forcing SKT to come to them while they were doing Baron and Dragons. And for the most part, it worked. But again, that's 2 lapses, one in Game 4 at that inhib turret where they went too far, and then one at Elder Dragon where they didn't respect the teleport out of Huni. That was all it took.
Yeah, and I think the key was they just really took SKT out of their comfort zone in a lot of these games, which is definitely something you're not accustomed to seeing, because so many teams, yeah, they just play a pretty standard comp against SKT, and they're the best team ever. I mean, you play similar team comps or whatever's meta, and there's a pretty good chance they're going to beat you unless they have a really off day. So yeah, kudos to Misfits for picking out these interesting picks like the Fervor Leona, which please don't come into solo queue.
Yeah, please don't. But it's not like the Marines way of playing these picks. It's not like Urgot and you're just trying to cheese. They're making these legitimate picks. Like this Leona is not just meant to be a cheesy thing. They used it to their advantage and were actually being proactive with it, whereas the Urgot was just like, I'm going to play Urgot and do my thing. So it's different when you're the Marines and trying to catch teams off guard purely by doing these extraordinarily weird things. Misfits were saying, you know what, we're just going to put our playmaker on playmaking champions, but we're still going to get Art and Sensor. We're still going to make the meta work by putting that onto different positions.
Yeah, it was clearly a multi-layered strategy where they know it was a strong laner as well, but you saw after that just roaming around. She has so much CC, Leona, that, yeah, just going in different lanes and setting up plays, handing kills on a silver platter to guys like Hansama to get that Tristana ahead. So kudos to Misfits. Great year. Have our respect and our thanks for putting up a good fight.
Making it a
the
great
Western
series.
squad.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were expecting it to not be a very great series whatsoever.
No.
As a lot of people were. Like, as you said, 98% pick 'em going in favor of SKT. But, man, some of these games were incredible. This was one of probably a top 10 series at Worlds all time.
Yeah, and
Without a doubt.
it might end up being one of the best at this tournament. Obviously, definitely much more interesting than that Longzhu Samsung game. The result was very interesting, but the games were kind of meh for the most part. These games, 2 stomps, game 1 and 2, and then after that, it was 3 games that could really have gone either way.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at some of the SKT members after the game, Huni was saying, man, this is probably the hardest series I've ever played in my professional career. Bang came out and said about Hansama that if he keeps playing at this level, he might be one of the greats. So a lot of praise from SKT to Misfits, acknowledging that, wow, this team's actually pretty good, and they put up one hell of a fight against the 3-time world champions.
That's right. And now, with Misfits out, it's down to 2. 2 Western teams left, 2 quarterfinals left. The good news for the Western squads is they don't have to play any Koreans.
No, but RNG looks mighty good.
RNG looks very good. World Elite also look very good. Tomorrow morning, you got Fnatic RNG, followed by Cloud9 and World Elite on Sunday as the last 2 hopes for the Western world. We already made our picks for these guys. You didn't believe in either. I believed in Cloud9.
I do think, especially after watching the series so far, nothing that we've expected has happened. I mean, Samsung with the 3-0 sweep. Misfits forcing a Game 5 against SK Telecom. So right now, everything's up in the air. You have a week to prepare for one team specifically, and you can get these game plans in motion. It's a lot more interesting. And again, best of 5's a different beast. than just a bunch of best of ones. You lose the first game, no problem. You can come back, draft this new strategy, and try to catch the other team off guard. So it's a marathon, not so much a sprint in these best of fives.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much you just see how different a team can be within a week, not just individual players, how they're playing, but just the overall outlook and almost the meta change in a week with some of these guys. It was all Ardent Sensor, only Ardent Sensor on supports. Don't pick anything else or you're crazy. And then the majority of the games here, you're seeing guys like Braum, Tom Kench, Leona, Blitzcrank, all these different supports that aren't going to be building Ardent Sensor. So it's very interesting to see how that will change in these last two quarterfinals. So it's going to be very interesting.
Definitely excited. Maybe we get some more upsets, maybe some more shock value. I'm always down for an underdog story, so we'll see if Fnatic and Cloud9 can do something, but gonna expect that Chinese crowd to be pretty loud for a world lead in RNG. They were loud for Misfits, so imagine what happens when they're facing their home team.
Yeah, there were some TSM chants before some of these quarterfinals.
Of course there were. There's always a goddamn TSM chant.
The memes are always true. It doesn't matter where they go. But we won't be doing a show Saturday, Sunday because it's the weekend, but we will be back on Monday. We'll break down the two other quarterfinals and really just the quarterfinals as a whole. And we'll also talk about some franchising with the NALCS because there's a lot to talk about.
The NBA LCS.
The NBA LCS, I mean, it is wild. The 10 teams are figured out for this upcoming NALCS season. So we'll be talking about that, talking about all these new teams that are in there, some of these teams that didn't make the cut, Immortals, and just some other stuff all about the NALCS franchising because there's a lot to talk about.
Oh boy, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the world of League of Legends right now.
So we will be back on Monday, 3 p.m. for an episode of Get Boosted, and we'll see you guys then. Eric Kummel, Matt Hempstead. Enjoy the quarterfinals this weekend.